The Ministry of Interior unleashed all the thugs to destroy the cities. So people would say that they still need the regime. We don't want the regime. We want either a constitutional amendment or something that says that the next president of Egypt will be chosen by the people. When we say we don't want the regime, it doesn't mean we don't want Hosni Mubarak as a person and be stuck with someone else who's imposed on us. We want to choose our president because we want to take this country into the future.
The Muslim Brotherhood movement may bring the fate of Egypt's peace treaty to a referendum. Results from Egypt's recent parliamentary vote, which saw considerable gains for Islamic factions such as the Muslim Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party and the radical Salafi movement's Al-Nur Party, have caused some to question the future of Israel's 1979 peace treaty with its neighbor to the north. The deputy chief of the Muslim Brotherhood, Rashad al-Bayoumi, said that Egypt may choose to revise its peace treaty with Israel. Al-Bayoumi emphasized that the Islamic movement would respect all of the international agreements to which Egypt is signatory, adding, however, that each side has the right to review the peace deal and that the Egyptian people have yet to speak their mind.
This is the Holy Land. This is the place where the message of eternal peace burst forth and captured the imagination of the entire world. It's still a job that is before us. We have a lot of things to do to achieve that peace. But I want you to know in this holiday season that we send you our best tidings for peace in your lives and peace around the world.
We're back with Roy Oppenheim. Roy, back to the Middle East for a moment. You actually lived in Egypt for a year, I believe. Tell our audience about that.
After I graduated from college, I was invited to work for the president of the American University in Cairo, which is really used to be one block from Tahrir Square. They just moved out to the suburbs, but I literally lived one block from Tahrir Square, and I was assistant to the president of the university, studied a little Arabic, taught English, and also studied international affairs while I was there. And I learned to just appreciate Egyptian culture and just the Egyptian way of life. And just a few years ago, I took my whole family back for a 25th anniversary of the program that I was on, and actually from Egypt, we then went to Israel, which was an absolutely fascinating experience to actually do that, because when I was in Egypt, the only way you could get to Israel was literally by taxi through the Sinai, through Palestinian taxi. And now I flew an El Al flight from Cairo to Tel Aviv, a flight that didn't exist when I previously was there.
Another topic that we cannot avoid is the challenge that many people perceive is the threat to Western civilization posed by radical Islam. Many people are saying this is not at all about Israel. Israel's a scapegoat, just an excuse. If Israel was destroyed, the problem would exist. In fact, it existed prior to the rebirth of the State of Israel. How do you see the challenges the world is facing at the hands of extreme Islamic terrorism and organizations?
Well, I did spend almost a year living in Egypt, and when I never felt threatened in any way by the Islamic culture or the Muslim culture. In fact, I found it fascinating, and that for the most part, people were tolerant of my religious beliefs as I was of theirs, and so I didn't get a sense there at that time back in that fundamental Islamicism wasn't in any way threatening, as some people do perceive it today. And I think that there has been a shift. I think we are seeing that addition of a part of Islam. Now, I think probably 75, 80, 85, 90, 95% of the Muslims in the world are not radicalized, but there is a group that have become radicalized. And sometimes I think that it's the responsibility of the rest of the Muslim community, that Muslim community that's here in the United States, that's completely integrated, that's part of this wonderful melting pot that all the rest of the world tries to emulate, to try and bring their house in order. And I sometimes think that in other groups, when they came to the United States, whether it was the Jews or the Irish, when they came in, they would control and police and protect, sure that their group somehow properly assimilated and conducted and comported themselves in a way that was the best for themselves, but also for their entire community. And so sometimes I get a sense that the rest of the Muslim community may be afraid or is timid and just doesn't always rise to that occasion.
Roy, another topic that we cannot avoid is the challenge that many people perceive is the threat to Western civilization posed by radical Islam. Many people are saying this is not at all about Israel. Israel's a scapegoat, just an excuse. If Israel was destroyed, the problem would exist. In fact, it existed prior to the rebirth of the State of Israel. How do you see the challenges the world is facing at the hands of extreme Islamic terrorism and organizations?
I mean, I think that's just completely unacceptable. And again, when I was there, I met a lot of Coptic Christians and visited their churches and their other communities. And even though they're not today, and the same thing with the Jewish community there's almost no Jewish community. So this idea that the Arabs need to take over the major parts of the world, either through population, through birthing, is something that needs to be assessed and evaluated. And there are different parts of Europe that are trying to grapple with Arab assimilation, and it is an issue, and it's an issue that has to be honestly addressed by the world and the Arab community together.
Roy, we could endlessly talk about so many unfortunately distressing matters. Let's focus on positives. We have a world of great technology and so many industrial possibilities today, and technology that is absolutely mind-boggling when you compare the way we live today as opposed to 200 years ago. How would you see the future utilizing the abilities that we have today in resolving problems and improving the lot of all people on Earth, and obviously promoting peace and so forth?
Notwithstanding this interview, I consider myself to be remarkably upbeat. I think that 99.9% of the population is good, and that people inherently want to make their lives and other people's lives better. I certainly believe that through technology in the area of energy production, whether it's solar or or clean coal or produce or finding more oil. I mean, you know, a few years ago we said that their oil supply was limited, and now constantly we're finding new oil. We can dig deeper, and so all of a sudden the whole issue of energy seems to be dramatically evolving. But in terms of food and famine, I mean, I think with climate change or global warming, you know, we're seeing certain parts of the world. There's tremendous famine right now going on. People are dying in Africa. I mean, I think that through technology, again, we can teach different parts of the world how to farm, how to create their own food, how to improve their own lot. And that requires effort not just by the United States, but by the world community. And I do see at times a glimmer of hope where communities come together and provide that resolve.
Well, I'd like to see a world as we are in this new year 2012 in which problems are resolved in a civilized process, and there's so much that each country can offer the other in a spirit of teamwork and harmony. Let's hope for the very best, and thank you very, very much for being on the show.
Thanks, Richard.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
We should do another one of these days.
Richard, it'd be my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I'll be right back.
Healthcare costs are bankrupting America. The cause is federal overregulation. Unless a free market is restored, no one, including government, business, or individuals, will be able to afford the high cost of healthcare. My new book, Pharmocracy, exposes the corruption that causes needless suffering and death while our nation sinks into financial ruin.
This essential book is only $24, and you'll also receive a free subscription to Life Extension magazine. Get your book today.
This brings us to the end of our special show for today. From on location in Western Florida with Roy Oppenheim, I'm Richard Peritz. Thank you for being with us.